In 1990, I worked for the first time as a volunteer for a political campaign, and that campaign was the U.S. Senate campaign up in Minnesota for the late, great Senator Paul Wellstone. And we worked really hard. I was just a foot soldier, no big deal. Didn't play a big role, but I played my part. And we came from way behind to defeat a right-wing incumbent who outspent us 10-1. And on election night, I was so excited I didn't sleep. The next morning there was a show on, and Paul was on that show. And there was someone else who was on it too. Because the same night Paul got elected to the U.S. Senate, a congressman ran in Vermont's at-large seat, or a candidate ran in Vermont's at-large seat as an independent Democratic Socialist, and was elected to Congress. And they were on that show that morning, and I remember fairly well, and I loved everything Paul said. And this new congressman from Vermont said a lot of the same things. And there was something about his message that, with all due respect to Paul, I liked him a little bit better. And I was hoping that a day would come when he would be at a much higher office. Fast forward to the present. For 20 years I've been a union steward and on again, off again, an officer in my union, which now I'm the third vice president and the political director. And that's UFCW Local 230 in Tacoma, Iowa. We are on the front lines in the fight against a very, very tough cartel and ruthless corporation to get workers basic dignity, good wages, good health care insurance, and good workplace safety. It's an ongoing battle all the time, and we have decided, as a local 230 from Tacoma, to take leadership on behalf of all working Iowans by endorsing Senator Bernie Sanders, who is President of the United States. Our international hasn't endorsed anyone yet, but Bernie's campaign is organized through UFCW, and his campaign workers are our brothers and sisters, so we decided we would take the initiative, get things going, and get UFCW behind Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, the real and positive change only comes from the people. It doesn't come from the top. Top-driven change is almost always a bad. Meat packer and agriculture workers across Iowa recognize that only Bernie Sanders has the guts to take on big ag and the meat packing houses monopolizing and controlling Iowa's economy. We need to fight back. While Ellis was so kind to announce that I am a leader in the labor movement, that's very true, but I'm not the only person in my union who's a leader. I'm the only one here tonight, but there are 1,800 of us. We're all ready to become leaders to make America better, to bring real and positive change. And now it is my unbelievable honor to introduce to you the next President of the United States of America, Senator Bernie Sanders.
And I want to thank Frank Flanders and UFCW Local 230 for their endorsement. The working class of this country is saying loud and clear from coast to coast that they are sick and tired of an economy that works for the 1%. They demand, you demand, and I demand an economy that works for all of us. I want to tell you why I have absolute confidence that we're going to win here in Iowa. We are going to win the Democratic nomination, and that we are going together to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country. I want to tell you why that is going to happen. Just yesterday or today, we announced the kind of financial support we received from our campaign. And I want you to hear this because this is unprecedented to the best of my knowledge. In the last 3 months, we received 1 million individual contributions. Contributions, 99% of them were for $100 or less. The profession that contributed most to our campaign was not Wall Street speculators, not the owners of the fossil fuel industry, but the teachers of America. And the other professions that contributed in large numbers were waiters and waitresses, nurses, and students. And here is something that really humbles me and it moves me. The single largest employer who received and we received donations from. That's right, Walmart. We also received a large number of donations from the workers at Amazon, the workers in Target, the workers at Starbucks. Campaigns, what happens is candidates go out to rich people's homes and they come out with tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And then when they get elected, those are the people they represent. Well, in this unprecedented campaign, we're doing it very differently. Proud and humbled to receive so much support from the working class of this country. What workers all across America understand is that the economy today is doing really good for the people on top, not so good for ordinary Americans. I want to bore you for a moment with some interesting statistics. Here they are. Last year, you'll be happy to know that the 5 major Wall Street banks made $111 billion in profit. At the same time, as over 500,000 Americans are sleeping out on the streets of this country tonight. Last year, the top 10 drug companies who are ripping off the American people right and left, charging us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Top 10 companies made $69 billion in profits, while 1 out of 5 Americans are unable to afford the medicine that their doctors prescribe. Last year, the health insurance industry made $23 billion in profits. Its CEOs earn exorbitant, outrageous compensation packages. Meanwhile, last year, half of the American people under 65 at one point in that year had no health insurance at all. And some 80 million Americans are either uninsured or underinsured. Last year, the fossil fuel industry made $38 billion in profit. Meanwhile, as you all know, in the United States and all over the world, we are dealing with the ravaging impact of climate change, and the scientists tell us that we have very few years in order to transform our energy system. Last year, the military-industrial complex, where we now spend more than the next 10 nations combined on the military, they made $26 billion in profit, at the same time as half of the people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. Last year, corporate America made $2 trillion in profit, while real wages and benefits went down for the average American worker by 35 cents an hour. So what this campaign is about is the very radical principle that maybe, just maybe, we should have an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Talk about some things that you don't see on television and you don't hear about on the floor of the United States Congress. But it's an issue that we must have the courage to deal with. In America right now, as we speak, and I want you to think about this from a moral and an economic perspective. In America today, we have 3 people who own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people. Is that the kind of nation we want to be? Today in America, the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%. Is that the kind of nation we want to be? I have been called radical and extreme. That's okay. years, since the last time I was here in Iowa, a whole lot of other people have become radical and extreme. When I came here to Iowa, we were at 5% in the polls. The ideas that we talked about, the media said, the political establishment said, nobody would believe what Bernie Sanders is talking about. Who could possibly believe that in America we would have a $15 an hour minimum wage? Yet 4 years have come and gone, and that idea that was so radical 4 years ago has now been adopted by 7 states in America. And within the next 2 weeks, if I am not mistaken, and I don't think I am, the United States House of Representatives will vote for a national $15 an hour minimum wage. That bill will be coming to the Senate. And I would hope very much you tell Senators Ernst and Grassley that workers in Iowa and in America cannot make it on 8, 9, or 10 bucks an hour. Support of my legislation, which will finally create a living wage in America of 15 bucks an hour. When I came here to Iowa City 4 years ago, I said, you know, the world has changed in the last 50 or 60 years. 50 years ago, it was good enough for people to get a free public education from 1st grade to 12th grade. Because 50, 60 years ago, if you had a high school degree, the likelihood was that you could go out, get a decent job, and make a living wage. That was 40, 50, 60 years ago. But as all of you know, that world has changed profoundly. Technology has changed, the economy has changed, the global economy has changed. And what I said 4 years ago is that it seems to me the time is now to make public colleges and universities tuition free. So radical 4 years ago is now an idea that is sweeping the country, and states and counties and cities are doing just that. And there was another point that I made 4 years ago, and that is, it seemed to me kind of crazy that we were punishing millions of people for the quote-unquote crime of getting a higher education. That we were forcing millions of Americans to go deeply into debt simply because they wanted to get the education they needed to get a decent job. Well, that idea has also caught on. And you're seeing more and more people appropriately saying that we got to do something about student debt in America. Now let me ask the people here, raise your hand if you have student debt right now. I should have asked, raise your hand if you don't have student debt. All right? Well, you know you are not alone. You're part of a 45 million people. So the question is, what do we do about a situation where we have a younger generation today that for the first time in modern history, unless we turn it around, and we are going to turn it around, will have a lower standard of living than their parents? What should we do about that? Well, I'll tell you one thing we should do about that, and that is cancel student debt. I have talked to too many people from Vermont to California who are struggling and suffering under the weight of incredible amounts of student debt. These are people who now cannot get married and have kids. They can't buy a home. They can't do what they want with their lives because every month they're paying off far more than they can afford to pay in student debt. Now, I have been criticized, as I often am, in editorial pages all over this country for saying that we should eliminate student debt. I've been criticized for that. And they say that's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. To make public colleges and universities tuition-free and eliminate student debt is about $2.2 trillion over a 10-year period. It's a lot of money. Well, how are we going to raise that money to do that? I will tell you exactly how. We're going to put a speculation tax on Wall Street. The United States Congress, against my vote, bailed out the crooks on Wall Street who almost destroyed the entire economy. If we can provide a multi-trillion-dollar bailout for Wall Street, we surely can provide the help that the younger generation needs in order to go. Trump and his friends can provide over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1% and large profitable corporations. Please don't tell me we cannot afford to cancel student debt in this country. Ago, I came to Iowa and I said something that never occurred to me as being radical, but some people thought it was. And what I said then and what I say now is healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. There is something very wrong when we have today a dysfunctional healthcare system in which over 80 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments, while we end up spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as do the people of any other nation on earth. So here is a radical thought. You ready for a radical thought? You look like a radical audience. All right. I don't want anybody collapsing, but here it is. The function of a rational healthcare system should be to provide quality healthcare to all, not to make billions in profits for the insurance company. Companies and the drug companies, they have a slightly different opinion. They like the current system because they're doing very well under the current system, and they will spend, in all likelihood, hundreds of millions of dollars trying to defeat Medicare for all, and they will lie a whole lot about what we are trying to do. Well, I have never heard anybody who tells me that they love their health insurance company. Anybody here love your health insurance company? The truth is that Medicare is the most popular health insurance program in America. The problem is it only applies to people 65 years or older. So what we are going to do over a 4-year period is first year, cover all of the children in America and lower the age of eligibility to 55 years old. A whole lot of people who are 58, 60, 62 are waiting to get into Medicare. We're going to make that wait a lot shorter. Second thing we do in the first year is we expand Medicare benefits for senior citizens. Medicare is a good program, but it does not cover dental care, it doesn't cover hearing aids, it doesn't cover eyeglasses. That's what we will cover in the first year. Until over a 4-year period, every man, woman, and child in this country is covered. Now, what our opponents will tell you, and they will spend many, many millions of dollars telling you this, is that under our plan, people will not have the freedom of choice regarding their doctors or their hospitals. And if anybody tells you, tell them that they are lying. All right? Yeah, we are going to get rid of the private insurance companies, but people will have a choice about what doctor and what hospital they go to. Years ago, I was asked in a national debate about what I believe to be the major national security crisis facing this country. And the moderator, I expect, thought that I would say, well, maybe it's ISIS, maybe it's Al-Qaeda, maybe it's China, maybe it's Russia. And those are reasonable answers. But you know what my answer was 4 years ago? You got it. That's what I said 4 years ago, and people thought that was kind of funny. He's not really serious about it. People are not laughing today. The scientific community has made it clear that climate change is an existential threat to not only the United States, not only to Iowa, Vermont, but to the entire planet. And what they have told us is we got 12 years, which from a historical perspective is no time at all. 12 years in order to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy, or else this planet will suffer irreparable harm. We can do it. Of Iowa for being one of the leaders in this country in sustainable energy. 35% of your electricity comes from wind. Thank you, Iowa. Unfortunately now, we have a president who embarrasses us virtually every day. President who lies virtually every day. A profound statement. And he was the first person in the world to perceive this. We've got to give him credit for it. The only one that I know of who determined that wind turbines cause cancer. But understanding that, here I am back in Iowa, notwithstanding. The truth is, obviously, as all of you know, climate change is not a laughing matter. It is deadly serious. Right now, as we speak, Europe is undergoing a terrible, terrible heat wave. Australia has had massive drought. And what we're looking at is not only drought and flooding and extreme weather disturbances and the acidification of the ocean and rising sea levels. Miami, it is estimated 20-25% of Miami will be underwater in 30 or 40 years. I mean, we have a major crisis. So here is my promise to you, that as president, I will not believe or tell you that climate change is a hoax. Quite the contrary. What I will do, because climate change is not just an American issue. It is a global issue. And what the leader, the president of the most powerful nation on earth must do is stand up in front of the world and demand that the leaders of Russia and China and India and Brazil and African leaders come together, and instead of spending $1.5 trillion a year on weapons of destruction, on weapons designed to kill fellow human beings, what we have got to do is come together, use that money against our common enemy, which is climate change. But the real question is, how can we not do that? I've got 4 great kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. And I am going to do everything I humanly can to make certain that for my grandchildren and all of the children in this country and around the world, that we leave them with a planet that is healthy and habitable. That is our moral. Some of you may know the message of our campaign is us, not me. Anybody know what that means? What does it mean, us, not me? What does that mean? All right, number 1, it's all of us, we're in it together. So one part of what us, not me means is that my family has got to worry about your family, and your family has got to worry about my family. We are in this together. Our view of what a society and nation are about is not stepping on other people and lying and cheating in order to become a billionaire. Our view of society, that we work together to create a nation that works for all of us. That is one part of what us, not me means, and I'll tell you the other part. I am running against a number of Democratic opponents, and I know many of them, and many of them are my good friends, and they are good people. And you're not going to hear me disparage them. And let me also tell you, obviously I am here to win in Iowa and win the nomination to win the presidency. But if that does not happen, I will support, and I think I can speak for every other Democratic candidate, we're going to come together after the primary and make sure that Donald Trump is nominated. heart of what us, not me, is about. It's something that you don't hear much about. Other candidates are going to not talk about it. But I have to tell you, and I think it distinguishes our campaign from other campaigns. And I want you to think about this for a moment. Over the last 40, 45, 50 years, a lot of great speeches have been given. A lot of great plans have been developed. Good legislation has been passed. But after 45 years, the average worker in America today makes exactly, in real inflation accounted for dollars, what he or she made 45 years ago. Got that? Yeah. Huge explosion in technology. Every worker here is far more productive, and yet working class of this country has gone absolutely nowhere in terms of real inflation accounted for wages. Over the last 30 years, and I want you to hear this as well, you won't hear it on TV, and you won't hear it on the halls of Congress. Over the last 30 years, the top 1% have seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. You got that? 21 trillion over 30 years to the top 1%. Anybody here knows how the bottom half of Americans have done? Their wealth has actually gone down by $900 billion. Now, how does all of that happen? Well, what happens is, you're going to hear a lot of folks give a lot of great speeches. But at the end of the day, what us, not me means is that no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. And the reason he cannot do it alone, and this is not talked about in Congress or in the media, is that the power structure of America, the corporate elite, are so powerful that they will fight to maintain the status quo and continue to make hundreds of billions in profit, and they will resist the efforts of any president, no matter how honest or sincere he or she may be. That is just the fact. To change America, we're going to have to remember something about our history. And that is real change never takes place from the top on down. It is always from the bottom on up. That is the history of the labor movement, the history of the civil rights movement, the history of the women's movement, the history of the gay movement, the history of every movement that has made any real change in this country. So here we are in 2019, having to take on Wall Street, having to take on the insurance companies, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry, the military-industrial complex, the entire 1%. What this campaign is about is not just asking for your help to win here in Iowa and win the Democratic primary and win the election. I'm here to ask you to do even more than that. I am here to ask you to stand with me the day after we are inaugurated. To tell Wall Street and the insurance companies and the drug companies and all of the powerful corporate elite that the time has come when they cannot have it all. They cannot have it all. Brothers and sisters, we have a lot of work in front of us. We have got to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country. But in addition to that, we have got to save the planet from the ravages of climate change. We have got to transform this economy to make it work for working people. So tonight, I am delighted to be here in Iowa City to welcome all of you into the political revolution. Thank you. Okay,